Sweet Mountain. So, as I've alluded to many times in the past up until this point, Sonic Colors is the Sonic game that people pretend doesn't exist. Because it's a good Sonic game. As I've mentioned various times, this game's fucking fantastic and incredible, so therefore the people who like to say that Sonic is bad and has always been bad and there's no good 3D Sonic games can't really acknowledge it. Because if they actually acknowledged a good 3D Sonic game, then they wouldn't be able to say that Sonic's terrible and always has been, so they just pretend it doesn't exist, because that's easier. It's easier to just...
Sharp turns while running by drift.
It's much easier to just pretend something that proves you wrong doesn't exist than it is to admit that you were wrong. Why bother admitting you were wrong when you can simply live in a warm, comfortable cocoon of denial, right? Let's just ignore these facts that prove that I'm full of shit and just pretend those facts don't exist so that I can continue believing that I'm correct in my misguided belief about a video game series.
Diggable ground with a quick burrowing drill fork.
Yeah! So there's actually not all that much about this game in particular that I'm gonna be spending my time refuting stupid things that the Sonic haters, TM, have said about it, because there isn't a lot that the Sonic haters have said about it, because they just pretend it doesn't exist, because they can't pretend that it's bad. It's easier to pretend it doesn't exist than it is to pretend that it's bad, like they do with other good 3D Sonic games that they claim are bad, because it's gotta keep that narrative going strong. But that's not to say that there isn't things that... Like, this game kinda gets into weird territory because the Sonic fandom, like the people who actually like Sonic games, do have a problem with this game. And I actually didn't know that, because like I said, this is the best Sonic game. It just is. It's the best Sonic game. I'm not going to qualify that statement. Of all the games that have Sonic on the title, this is the best one. The end. Anyway. So when I found out that there were folks out there who were like, no, this game sucks, I was like, are we talking about the same game? What are you fucking talking about? How can you play this delightful, colorful splash of wonderment and say, yeah, that's bad for stupid reasons? And trust me, their reasons are stupid. So incredibly, incredibly stupid. I'm gonna die! There we go. Ah, that'll happen. So, I actually, pretty recently, upon starting doing these videos, learned about the cloister is probably the most appropriate word for them, of people out there who think that who have negative things to say about this game for some reason. So, you're probably not gonna hear the things that I am going to refute that people say about this game in the usual sources you would go to hear people say stupid things about how Sonic's bad. Like, you're not gonna hear chucklefuck assholes like the fucking Game Grumps say the things that I'm going to be talking about this game. Because, fuck, even they aren't stupid enough to try and act like this game's bad. They just pretend it doesn't exist. And one of the weirder things people say about this game, that all this game's bad, is the writing. Yeah, the writing in a Sonic game, because apparently that's something that matters now. This game was actually... the story about the writing of this game is actually pretty interesting, is it's being written by the guys who do the Happy Tree Friends. I forgot their names. They do have names. I just don't know what they are. But, you know the YouTube series, The Happy Tree Friends. They previously had written a Sega game called Mad World, which was actually also a Platinum game, so it was awesome and had really funny writing. So they got those guys, was it Mad World? No, I'm thinking of Mad TV, yeah. They got those guys to write Sonic Colors, hilariously enough. And I think this game's funny! Like, I like the writing of this game. I think it's pretty fucking hilarious. It is, I would admit that it's pretty high on the jokes per minute. Like, it does have that kind of, that issue that a lot of kids' cartoon writing seems to have, where they gotta end every single line of dialogue with a punchline. And that can be a little bit of a grating issue sometimes. But on the whole, I think the writing of this game is really good. Because they're writing it like it's a Saturday morning cartoon show. They're writing it like it's a kid's cartoon. Which is what Sonic is. So I don't see what the problem there is. They're writing Sonic in an appropriate way to appeal to the demographic that he is being made for. But no, there's like that weird subset of Sonic fans who are like, no, we want like serious, mature, dark narrative, like the Sonic Adventure games. How come you don't have a bring back the adventure games? Make Sonic Adventure 3. As if they didn't do that already. Twice. Literally, they made Sonic Adventure 3 twice, people. Get over yourselves. But you know, they want every game to end with the death of a main character and shit like that. So a game that's like actually having a fun time and telling jokes and having kid humor, you know, like, it's a Wii game, and it's a Sonic game. Yeah, no shit, it's gonna be, like, child, humor that appeals to children. No shit. Anyway, like, so those people do actually complain about this game, and they're fresh complaints to my eyes. I had no idea that there were people out there who have a problem with this game, because like I said, it's the best one. So, that was news to me. So I don't exactly have, like, a wealth of refutations or experience with these weird points that people make against this game, because I still kind of have trouble fathoming that they actually exist, because it's so bizarre to me. Like, what game are you guys seeing that there's anything to complain about? I mean, as always, I will assert, I'm not saying the Sonic games are perfect, but even people who hate Sonic games agree that this is good by not acknowledging it. That is how they admit that it's good, by pretending it doesn't exist. Which is, in a way, the greatest compliment and boon they can do for the series in general. So, like, the writing, and they say, like, oh, there's too many 2D sections. Like, right now, we're having a 2D section, and they joke, like, oh, there are no 3D sections in Sonic Colors. It's just it's a 2D game. Apparently, that's something to complain about. I wasn't aware that that was a bad thing. That is, you would complain about it. These people confuse me. And they also say that the wisps are bad. The only bad thing about the wisps is I would not be able to say the name wisps if I was a few years younger, because I used to have a speech impediment. So honestly, less than getting upset like I normally would, I'm more just bewildered that there exists people out there who don't like this game at all. So rest assured, I'm gonna be talking about stupid things that stupid people complain about, and talking about why they're wrong, because that's sort of what we're here for. But really, like, I'm gonna have a lot less, like, righteous, like, vindication about it, and more just being like, what? How are you what? You know? But regardless. There we go. But really, for this game, almost more than any other, I'm just... Oh, thank God. I'm just kind of gonna be along for the ride, for the most part. I'm just, like, really more than any other game in the series, I'm gonna be going, oh, sorry, oh no, and just play a game and be like, look how fucking nice this game looks! Oh, it's so pretty, I can't believe it's a Wii game. Like, man, that's one of the things to talk about with this game is it does change some things from the Unleashed gameplay that was established. Like, the boost really does work. Come on! There we go. Work differently in this game. You might have already noticed whenever I use the boost in this game, it has a different kind of effect around Sonic, a visual effect compared to what Unleashed did. And Unleashed, it kind of put like a Reppuken force field kind of around him as he boosted forward. In this, it doesn't really have any kind of effect like that. It's just sort of around his feet, if you'll notice when I do a boost here. It does a sort of, like, it does a little color dust around his feet to represent the boost, which is interesting. And I think the reason that they went with that is because this is a Wii game. So they really so they had to, like, scale back a little bit when it comes, yeah, see, if you'll look, when I boost here, there's just like a little color, like speed dust around his feet. Whereas if you compare it to how it looked like in Unleashed, it was like this massive blue energy around his entire body. Which to me looked better, but I feel like the reason they decided to change up from that is because this is a Wii exclusive game. Which, by the way, I feel like the fact that it is a Wii game contributed a little bit to why no one ever brings this up for some reason. Like, I'm definitely not complaining that Sonic haters out there don't talk about this game. I wish they wouldn't talk about every Sonic game, because I hate them. But I feel like the reason they don't talk about this game is because it's a Wii game. So they're like, that doesn't count, or whatever, for some reason. Because the Wii was the popular, super successful mainstream console. So there was a weird thing for a while. There were people acting like the Wii wasn't a real console or whatever. So I feel like there was a little bit of that contributed to things. But it is kind of been arguable that the Wii is a less powerful console compared to the PS3 and the Xbox 360. So they really had to scale back in terms of the technical specs of what the game would entail. But I feel like that ended up being a good thing because they really scaled back on the spectacle. Not that there isn't plenty of quality aesthetic to this game. The visuals really are great because they emphasized art style over, like, polygon count or whatever. Like, they got some really interesting creative visuals going on in this game. Yeah. But they did really scale back in terms of, like, the visual feat. Because say what you want about Sonic Unleashed, but it looked fucking incredible. But that brought a lot of drawbacks along with it, such as terrible frame rate. Like, that game would chug, even on the less demanding levels. If you just held down that boost button and never let go, that game would slow to a fucking crawl. Like, you would hit like the frame rate would go down into the tens, into the teens, you know? So, with the console they had to work with being completely incapable of even if they wanted to blow the frame rate out of the water by having just this incredible visual feat for the eyes, emphasizing that over performance. Damn it, they couldn't, because the Wii just wasn't capable of doing that as a console. So they kind of changed their priorities and emphasized performance And with all the extra resources they had not being able to put into as... It's hard for me to find the right words to describe it, because this game looks incredible, obviously, but it looks incredible in a different kind of way compared to how Sonic Unleashed looked. Because the Wii just wasn't capable of putting forth those kind of visuals as a console. So it's hard for me to like try and describe the visuals of this game without being like, yeah, it doesn't look as good. Because in certain ways you could argue it looks better, but it's just a different set of priorities compared to Sonic Unleashed, which really did kind of feel like, in a lot of ways, they did prioritize the visuals over a lot of everything else. They prioritized the visuals certainly over performance. Like, once again, that game would chug. This game doesn't. It's got a solid frame rate from beginning to end. Yeah. Because they knew, working on the Wii, they just couldn't do those things. So they didn't try, and they focused their creative efforts in a different direction. And they had all those extra resources that they weren't wasting on superficial aesthetic qualities, and they were to put that forth towards making a shit ton of really interesting creative levels with their own gimmicks attached to them. And they really went hog wild with like the ideas behind these levels too. I mean, you have amusement park, starting off out the gate with amusement park. You have a fucking Candyland level. You have this, which we'll get to. We'll get to all of these. But it's like with Sonic Unleashed, they had a huge canvas to work with and all of the colors of the rainbow to paint with. And because they had so many resources to work with, you end up splattering a little bit too much paint all over the place and just destroying everything. Like it's very pretty to look at, yes, but you kind of drew outside the lines there, if you know what I mean. Whereas with this game, they're given a canvas that's half as big and with far less colors to work with, make the same quality of paint. You can do that. That's not impossible. But it's going to take a very different set of... Like, you can't accomplish that task. You can't make the same quality of painting with half of the resources to work with. But it's going to take, like, way more creativity, comparatively. You really have to be creative with it. You have to think about how you're going to fit all of that vibrancy and flourish in half as much space, and you're gonna have to get creative with mixing the paint you have in order to make colors that you just don't have access to normally. It's not a perfect metaphor, but like that's really the kind of feeling I get from this game, where they were like adversity is the mother of innovation. That's not the expression.
If I was an alien in need of saving, where would I be? Experience has taught me to investigate anything that glows. Experience has also taught me that the best way to solve problems is to kick robot butt.
Visitors are cautioned to avoid eating, petting, or saving any aliens.
Excuse me, giant killer robot? You want to do this the hard way or the easy way?
Reflexes like a
I
cat.
knew you'd say that. Let's dance.
I knew you'd say that. Always reminds me of Sylvester Stallone. Like, necessity is the mother of invention. Oop.
This guy isn't gonna show himself until you take care of that ship. There's a switch in the back. Break it to stop the ship's function.
I don't need the help, I just want to listen to Tails' voice acting. There we go. Ah, shit. So, instead of kind of like falling back on something easy, because you don't have to worry about it really, because you have all these resources to work with, you gotta make the same quality of thing, but you have less to do it with, you end up coming up with something that's...
He's only just starting now that he's shown himself. Don't let him pressure you. Stay cool, then attack.
You end up coming with something that, arguably, is a lot more interesting and a lot more creative. Fuck you. Once again, using the Wisp powers makes these boss fights really short. There we go. So as we're gonna see as we go through, all of the levels in this game are really fun and interesting. They're short. Like, all of these levels are really short, but that allows them to pack so many more levels into the game. So like every single level kinda has a different interesting little gimmick to it. Oops, come on. There we go. Really? There we go. See how long it takes when you don't have a wisp? Okay, now I think that's it. Yeah, we're done here. Come on. Would be nice if the boost kind of attracted rings to you with a little bit more aggressiveness, because at moments like that, they just kind of blast out in every direction. You can't really get them all. Gonna have a surplus of lives, that's for sure. The weird thing about this game is it's the easiest to complete, and you're pretty much never gonna hit like a continue screen or a game over screen, but it is really hard to master. Like, this is the game, it's not a game that I have the most trouble getting S ranks on, by far.
Hey, Tails, you missed the BBBE.
Huh?
Best boss beating ever. So, has Yacker given you any more information, or limericks, or whatever it is he's spouting?
Well, first, remember, this translation stuff isn't 100%.
Kinda like translating from English to Japanese.
So anyway, these aliens are made up of a really powerful energy source called hyper-go-ons. It's inside of them.
Like a battery?
No. Well, sort of. It's their life source. You only got a taste of it. Look at what happened. Battery is sort of an understatement. Funny thing, it was first translating as horrible body odor. Anyway, it seems an evil man, and you might know him, who they call Baldy Nosehair.
Baldy Nosehair! That's the best thing I've heard all day. I gotta remember that one.
Oh my
I know,
god.
I've already written it down. Anyway, he's draining them of their power. All their power, and using it for an evil... aquatic mammal? An evil dolphin? No, a porpoise. Oh, an evil purpose.
That's good intel. Keep working on it.
Aww.
Hey, where are you going?
To find Baldy McNosehair, of course. I'm totally calling him McNosehair.
Bashful Tails getting complimented by Sonic. Believe it or not, there are people out there who have a problem with that little routine. I don't understand people sometimes. Like, seriously, people act like this game, like, again, it's not like the same kind of people. But there are people out there who are like, ugh, the writing in this game is so bad, it's not funny at all. And, like, it's out of character? That's the weirdest one to me. Like, how do you claim that Sonic is out of character? He barely has a character! This is probably my favorite area in the whole game. Oh, it's so great. Ah, just look at what is on the screen right now. Listen to the music. How can you look at these visuals and listen to that music and say anything bad about this game whatsoever? I don't understand it, personally.
Form to swap out blue rings.
It confuses and, frankly, worries me. Like, that's such a weird complaint to me, saying, like, the writing is bad, or that Sonic's acting out of character, or, like they act like, they act like the... Damn it. Oh, just made it. They act like, again, I forget their names, the writers of the Happy Tree Friends cartoons who worked on this. They act like they are defining the game. That's, like, their complaints seem based completely on ignorance and not understanding how game development works. For one thing, the writers are literally the last people to get involved with the game. They make the game, and then they write the story. That's how game development works. Literally no one is writing the story first, and then making the game. But to hear these complaints, you would think that's what's happening? Like, that's not what's happening. I'm sorry to say this to you guys. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. God damn it. Like, the way you hear... Oh, god damn it, I'm stupid. There we go. The way you hear him talk, you would think... Ah, damn it. You would think that, like, whatever their names are, the Happy Tree Friends guys are like in charge of the game and just ruining the series. They're being given too much creative freedom, and the actual developers are like having their hard work from Sonic Adventure games just ruined. And I honestly don't get it. For one thing, again, I've talked about this before, but the guys who make the Sonic games are in America. Holy shit, Motobugs! Look at Motobugs! Yay! Motobugs! Look at them go! Motobugs! Oh no! Motobugs are in a Sonic game again! Look at them go! I'm beating up the Motobugs! Oh, it's so fun! Oh, ladybug motherfuckers! Oh, I can't even handle this shit. Oh, look, I'm just destroying everything that's happening in their little lives. Wormhole. It's the fleet from the beginning of Sonic Unleashed. With more neon sparkles around it. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by how wonderful this game is. The guy, like, the Sonic team guys are in America. It's not a, like, treehouse situation with Nintendo, where the localizers are just... That's the thing. These same people, I don't hear them complaining about the treehouse people over at Nintendo fucking ruining Fire Emblem Fates and whatnot. But it's not that situation where the Treehouse guys, the localizers, are just doing whatever they want and there's no oversight whatsoever. The guys who make the game are in America. They're in the same building, and they okay and veto every single decision that they make in terms of the writing. They have to hand in the script to the Japanese developers who can read and speak English and approve or disapprove of it. And for the most part, I'm pretty sure that the original developers are writing the script and they're just translating it. That's not 100. That's not like a clear-cut thing. Like, there's a lot of cooperation and back and forth in the writing process because they're all in the same fucking building working together on the game. Although, like, the guys who actually make the gameplay are in Japan, but I mean, like, Azuka and, like, those people, like, the directors, like, the leads of the project, whatever the term would be, they're here in America. They're here at Sonic Team, helping make the game.